Okay, we're all good to go, Steve.
Great, thank you all for joining us tonight. Planning committee meeting of from Town Council. I'm Steve Tanner, I'll be chairing this evening's meeting. As ever, we want to make our meetings available to as many people as possible, regardless of where they are. So we're using a hybrid setup here in the town hall, online via Zoom. Those in the room doing housekeeping, emerging set is to the rear corner at the end of the room. It's 70 points to the car park. Toilets can be accessed at the end of the corridor, and there is an accessible toilet to the right of the lift. Panelists on Zoom, raise your electronic hand, please, Philip. For those in the room, please raise your hand. Philip, just ask questions when you feel that's fine. Tonight, Jane and Catherine McClurkin, Hannah will manage the questions board and participant settings. Minute will be recorded for minuting purposes and will also live streaming us to our YouTube channel.
Hi.
Hello.
Come on in.
Planning
This
meeting.
afternoon, actually.
Sorry?
This evening, though.
Yes,
Evening.
Right.
To watch.
Of course you are, yeah. Yeah,
Come take a seat.
I'm sitting there on the water.
Is there any specific item you want
Yes, Weymouth Road.
Right, okay. Propose do that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Should we
Just about
do
parking.
this
Just about parking.
No.
one?
No,
After the
no,
other
no.
Yeah.
You got a lot of people.
Okay, yeah,
I'm not you. I'm just-
Keeping the same.
Oh, I see.
right, yeah, that's fine. We'll do
Change your
that.
mind.
Yeah.
let me know.
We'll do that at the end. Okay. Any questions, comments, information from members of the public or councillors that aren't pertaining to things we're going to discuss?
Is it interest? Am I declaring when am I declaring an interest?
You can declare an interest in a minute. Agree policies of absence. I've got apologies from Philip. Polly. Philip has effectively apologised as well because he's online.
You need to
Can we
agree.
vote on that? Someone, yeah, thank you.
Just accepting their apologies for us.
Yes.
Formulate.
Procedure.
Agree the minutes from.
You can probably do it all in one go unless.
Agree the minutes from the 3rd November, the 24th of November, and the extraordinary meeting on the 28th of November. Someone could propose.
Yes,
those.
I read all those offline.
Well done. Thank you very much. I'll sign this here later. Item number 5, declaration of members' interests.
Yes. Item ID 128. The property is owned by the company which owns the building in which I live. So they're my landlord. Jane, who has submitted the application, manages the property in which I live in, and she also used to live in the building. So I am friends with her. So would you like me to leave the room? But I will, or I can just sort of push my chair out and sit it out.
I don't think you need to leave the room, but
No.
probably not take part in the,
I mean, I don't
Just not
want to
vote on
take
it.
part in the conversation.
Yeah, probably
to be
just
honest.
don't vote.
but if you prefer to leave the room.
No,
then-
I'll just push my chair back and wait for it.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. Any other declaration of interest?
Was the one from all of you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, thank you for that.
1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 7.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 7. We all declare yeah. Declaration of interest non-pecuniary because effectively Frome Town Council are the applicants. Is that right?
Yes, I put the application. Is that this is the tree?
Got your name on it,
Catherine.
Yes, I put the application for the trees. They're Frome Town Council trees.
Right. Okay. So we'll declare interest, all of us on that.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Item number 6, to consider the major plan applications received. And we'll start with the 129. Is that right, Catherine?
Yeah, 1, 2, 9.
Right, over to Catherine. Thank you, Catherine.
On a second. I was opening this one then. Hey, there we go. Right, so the first sorry, I'm just trying to get this one. There we go. The first application is the erection of an advertising board on Portway. So it's highlighted in red. You can see my mouse. This strip just outside the station.
Could you speak up a little bit?
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
struggling to hear anyone else.
Here's a mic.
Do that.
Sorry, is that better?
Yeah,
Yeah,
much better.
perfect. So the application site is this highlighted in red here on Portway, just outside of the station. This is the existing plan where they've shown a previous advertisement board, and this is the proposed plan where they've shown that they're going to rotate the board 45 degrees right, so that it faces the road rather than to residential properties. This is the Google Maps snip showing a historic advertising sign of a similar size. I think this was taken in 2015. However, this is the current one that I did yesterday, where you can see the board's gone. This is what they're proposing. So it's a large advertisement board that's LED lit. So the applicants said it'll be switched off between the hours of 11 PM till 5 AM, I think.
Says in here until 7 AM.
7 AM, thank you, Fiona. And this is the existing and proposed elevations of it. The applicants have also said it's not in the conservation area, which is very true. But as you can see, the conservation area comes up to the pavement here, and the board's proposed to go here. So that is
One
stretching.
of the
It's
reasons
not
the
in
Civic
there.
Society were against it.
Yes.
The impacts is conservation.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna try. And for context, this is the B&Q signage that's already there. And you can see the size of that in comparison. So the big lit up B&Q sign that people already do not like is less than half the size of what they're
Right.
proposing. So while we have previously approved advertising, it's been on a much smaller scale. Also, these boards do use a lot of electricity. I don't think they're at all that efficient, but it's LED lights. They need to find some things to keep them cool. It's going to be changing every 10 seconds, changing adverts every 10 seconds.
Every 10 seconds.
Every 10 seconds. It's going to be facing right down the road.
The attention span of the typical teenager.
Am
is
I allowed
great.
to jump in at any point, or is it?
No, well, Catherine is introducing it,
Right.
then I'll let you speak if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
The applicants have said that they don't think it'll be distraction to drivers, which it may not be if they're sat in a queue of traffic. But I think if we go back over here, you can see where it's positioned. I think if you're pulling either out of the station or coming up Portway, anyone coming out of Texaco, you're just not going to see them.
Certainly going to be distracted.
Yeah, as Jane pointed out as well, it's because it's so tall, if you're higher up in a lorry or a van, you're going to be looking directly at it.
Right.
So I think that's also an issue, as well as the light pollution. And I don't know how accurate the pictures are for how bright it's going to be, because it's a picture on screen. I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Catherine. Jerry,
Yeah, well,
welcome, by the
Thank
way.
you. Yeah, I mean, yeah, basically I live in that building there, this red building there.
Right,
Our lounge room looks directly at that sign. They're saying that it actually is turned away from residential. No, it's not. If you look at the angle of it, it's going to be facing, we will see it, and also the houses that you can't see here on the right hand side, that is going to be directly facing them. They will look at, and it's in line with them, because that's at an angle to the road. They're showing it there, but it's actually at an angle
can
to
you
the
go
road.
back
It's
to
not,
that?
it's not at 90 degrees to the road there. It's at an angle. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you look at that angle there, it's just facing directly into those houses over there. So it's not, right. So that is an issue personally, because we have an autistic son who lives who sleeps in that bedroom, which is on the angle there. See that angle there?
Yeah.
Right. That light flickering every 10 seconds for an autistic kid trying to get to sleep. No. It's already bad enough because the streetlights are out there. One of the claims that in their planning is that it's already a brightly lit area. Well, the brightly lit streetlight that's right outside our window is already causing him sleep problems anyway. So using that as an excuse to put that more light pollution when it's already a bad light pollution area is not really valid. The safety of that junction is horrendous already. There's already been accidents there since B&Q opened. The claim in the planning is there's been one minor incident there in the last 10 years. Sorry, there's been more than that in the last 10 weeks. Crossing that road as pedestrian. You got 2 junctions and the access to Texaco. That junction is already very complicated and very busy. And also when they close the town centre, more traffic comes down Portway. And obviously Jewson's was there before, which was a commercial, it was a train, very little traffic went into Jewson's, 5.5 days a week. Now we've got a 7-day a week shop with lots and lots of people coming in. So it's the safety, road safety is a major issue. And then obviously you've got the fact that they say that this is going to save energy and save resources because it's not using paper. Having someone come out and putting the posters up. Well, there's no board there at the moment anyway. It hasn't been there for 5 years. Anything you put there is going to use resources. It's just,
Great.
Sorry, it is worth noting that the Civic Society are objecting, and we did object to the Hugh sign.
Yes.
And also Philip and Lisa, they've got their hands up. Philip, do you want to go first? Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
Right, Philip, do you want to?
Is that me? Yeah, thank you. Hello. Catherine, I have one question before I make some comments. As I understand it, the advertising board itself is LED. It's not a board that's lit by LED lighting. It's an electronic.
It's back.
it's a digital board.
Yes. So I think
Yeah,
the
thank
LEDs
you. Thank you. Okay. I mean, I know the site, and I would say that the concerns when I read through this, some of them have been voiced already by Joe. I don't really get from his name. Certainly, there is the issue of visibility and distraction. The cars approaching that junction, coming up towards the petrol station, and I didn't realise that it would be changing every 10 seconds. I think that it adds to even more distraction. And looking at digital signs, there's one in a fast food outlet fairly near to me at the moment. They are very bright. The thing about them is that they have very good resolution, so any kind of picture or printing on there stands out. But there is a high level of illumination on their on the actual advertising board. So I don't think it's appropriate for the position on those grounds at all.
Right, thanks for it. We're just going to try and change your speaker because you're coming through here. All right. So,
Philip, can you do a test for us?
2, 3, 4, 5.
Right. We got it anyway. Thanks, Philip. Lisa.
Jerry, I'm a neighbour of yours. I live down Wallbridge. Hello.
Hello.
So
You've probably got one of my notices there.
I did. Yes, I was pleased to see it. And I also work in the station complex.
Oh, right.
So I go across the street probably 3 or 4 times a day. So I don't know if that's an interest that I'm declaring, but the junction is really busy. There is a lot going on. There's people coming in and out of all of their shopping complexes, people turning in for residential, people turning into the petrol station. And I've seen 3 accidents over the past kind of 2 years in that space with people just not paying attention.
And that's real accidents as opposed to close calls.
Yeah, that's not close calls. That's actually cars being hit. Also, it's a lovely part of town with Victorian houses, which have a lot of character, and it doesn't feel appropriate for that space. So kind of seconding what Philip says and also Jerry.
I did go down to look at it as well. I just don't think it's going to fit on the site. That's my main.
Shane is online. Is that right?
Yeah, are you happy for me to allow him to?
Yes.
Lovely.
When he's finished, I'll just have a few words.
Hi, Shane.
Hi, yes, thank you. Sorry, I'm not in. I've got a streaming cold, so I'll do it on web. Yeah, I'm obviously the ward councillor of Keyford, and very much opposed to this just increased commercialisation of the public space. We've already got one 48-sheet billboard this sort of size on Vicarage Street that is unlicensed, doesn't have permission, but because of the crap enforcement, it's just stayed there. It's obviously completely against our climate emergency zone goals. It's been quite hard to figure out how much energy these actually use, but I've certainly in America, this sort of size uses 30 times the energy of an average US house. So it would probably be considerably more of a British house. I don't feel the consultation was proper, and I'd be interested to hear from the neighbours whether the council did send out letters to residents nearby, which I've requested them do.
Show you the list. It's on your documentation. That's the list of neighbours. Yeah. Nobody. Zero.
Yeah, and I just think constantly being implored to buy stuff in an age of austerity, it's just not great for mental health. This is part of a nationwide plan for Mills and Allen and these other poster companies of replacing the paper poster ones with digital ones. And I think we should really stop it for the reasons I've outlined: commercialisation of the council of the public space, vastly increased use of energy, and just road safety with constantly flickering adverts of, you know, never less than 10 seconds. It's just a huge distraction. So yeah, I've asked it to be called in, and very much against it.
Great. Thanks, Shane.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andy, Mark, Fiona.
Okay, so yeah, I'm also very much against. It's a hazard. It's an ecological disaster. I think we should push back on it on every ground.
I'm going to raise the same question. You pointed out, Jay pointed out, very, very close. We're all over me on
No, there's only one. I think the first one should be and put it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Obviously on Facebook. They are not. That's their neighbours.
Yeah,
They're in the list.
The next point that we made, does the green keep trying to go off overnight?
Doesn't actually really affect us.
No, but I think in this committee, we asked it turned off overnight, didn't we?
I'm pretty certain it's not.
When I go to the toilet in the middle of the night, I see it from.
Yeah, we did ask that it would be put up overnight.
Yeah.
That has been done for a while, so we stick every day. Thank you. Yeah.
Not only the brightness of
No, it's different.
it's that change.
Well, it's meant to be. Our attention.
I'm against all the reasons that everyone said. Crap with all these. They don't need to be sold in more rubbish. They don't need that as part of the,
The sound has disappeared. The owls have disappeared.
And support more flickering lights is, I think we need to take that into account when we're making our public spaces even more overwhelming, because we struggle overwhelming.
That's fine, that's mine. Yeah.
Sorry, technical difficulties. I think we're. Graham, do you want to summarise where we are? Because I think we're all
Sorry, excuse me, online, I really can't hear you or can't see a chamber camera.
We're
Yeah.
just trying, sorry, Steve kicked the apples out, so we're just trying to get them back working.
Ah, right. Thank you. Thank you.
Wait for it to go.
It's all part of the smart city.
I trod on it, unfortunately. I trod on the power cord and pulled it out. Yeah,
That's it.
doesn't happen often.
That's the state of our future.
Yeah.
Next time we tread on the
Normally I
power
sit
cord.
over there out of the way, you see, but tonight I was sat here and it's full
Okay,
chaos.
we should be back on.
You-
We just fill it.
You'll be
You
crossing
confirm
Portway
that
and pulling the
we're
power cord out to the sign.
I think that's okay now.
Have we got Shane back? Hello,
Yeah,
Shane.
we're back. I think Philip has just said that he can hear us.
Right, okay.
Yes, that's better. I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, so Steve just asked me to summarise where I think we are. So clearly everybody wants to object to the sign. A very brief summary of the reasons that will include light pollution to neighbouring properties, the adverse impact on the adjoining conservation area, the distraction to drivers, the impact on the visibility of drivers exiting the Texaco garage, especially those in vans and lorries. It's not environmentally sustainable, uses a high amount of electricity, factoring in the fact that it's a very busy junction all round, and we have concerns about the flickering of the signage and the impact that that will have on people suffering with sensory or other conditions.
The lack of consultation.
And the lack
Yeah.
of consultation.
And the lack of consultation.
And the impact, do we impact on the conservation
I did,
area as well?
Yeah, I'll put that in there, yeah.
So I think that's pretty categorical objection from everybody.
definitely.
Can we strong object?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strongly object.
Yeah. Well, I extremely strongly.
Right, so if someone could propose what Jane said, thank you. Unfortunately not. No.
We'll do it on your behalf.
Yeah, 4 years' time,
I'm sure
mate, you
Shane's
can
right
stand.
on my behalf anyway.
There we go.
I'm going to your son.
Thank you. Thanks for turning up, Jerry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Always good to see members of the
Yeah,
public.
what else are you discussing? What
Oh,
is it anything that we've got right?
no, so the other side of town, I think, from you, most of it.
Um,
You can stay if you want, or you
Yeah.
can,
I'll stay for a bit longer.
up to you.
Well, yeah.
Most people can't wait to leave.
Actually very positive there.
Right. Catherine, over to you for the next one.
The next one is 90 the next one is 90 Weymouth Road. It is 128. So it's currently bed sits and one bedroom apartment and 6 bed sits. So it's situated here, it's semi-detached. You can see the location plan and the roof plan as it currently is. It's just off the Weymouth Road junction. It's the first house you come to. These are the current, this is the proposed site plan with parking and waste and recycling area, ground floor plan. These are the existing plans, as you can see, slightly bigger lower ground floor and ground floor flats, and then up. And then these are the proposed plans because they are proposing, I should have told you what they're proposing. They're proposing to change it into a spa with Airbnb rooms above. So you can see that they've changed the ground floor flat into where would be the spa, so sauna, steam, a flotation room, treatment rooms, and changing rooms. first floor plan currently as is. They haven't put in their drawings what the little rooms here are at the bottom.
Bathrooms.
Yeah, I think they must be bathrooms and a little kitchenette.
No, there's no kitchenettes, they're just bathrooms.
Just bathrooms in a room.
They're ensuite bedrooms and they're an addition to Lottie's.
Okay.
Okay.
And then these are the proposed plans, which is bedroom, bathroom. So these will be the Airbnb rooms that are being proposed. These are the existing elevations. It took me a while to get my head around it because the building is a semi-detached building, and it doesn't look like a semi at the front.
So where is it attached? If I look at that image on the left.
Going up Weymouth Road.
Going up Weymouth Road, so it's the next. So this.
Oh, I see.
flipped on the
Yeah,
other side is
I know
the-
where we are now. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember.
Yeah, existing elevations, this one's facing into the car park, that one facing towards the rear. And again, proposed, they're proposing moving the door in the steps. Oh, sorry. And I have said there is no disabled access or facilities provided within the spa, which is a material consideration for planning, as it's a business. Also, I don't think there's enough parking, because the applicant's proposing 5 spaces, which would be enough for the Airbnbs, because that's 4 rooms, I think. But then I don't think it counts for staff, and as we know, Weymouth Road is residents parking only, so if anyone else would to drive, it just wouldn't, they won't be able to park unless it's on Badcocks, which is short stay anyway. I appreciate that the local plan does support local businesses, but it does seem contradictory to approve garage conversions on the basis that we're short of 1-bedroom flats, but this is changing 7 units into Airbnb rooms. It's not listed or in the conservation area, but it does back on the conservation area stops behind it on the other side of the car park. And there's been a comment from Environmental Protection regarding the noise emissions from the site, because it's semi-detached and there's other houses behind. And they've requested that if building work were to happen, then hours of construction will be adhered to. The Civic Society have said, split, I believe, similar to what I've said, they welcome the principle of additional employment space close to town and support the development of the Badcocks area. However, they think for letting rooms in the space of 7 1-bedroom flats isn't that great. And I think I agree with this as well. They say they don't see how the proposed employment use of 1 spa can provide 10 full-time employment opportunities, which does seem a lot. But I don't know, maybe they obviously know more about spas than I do.
You know that to me, I'm the one that's asking for the planning. I'm also the nearest neighbour.
Okay.
I also own up Lottie's and Bar Lottie's.
Okay.
So it's an extension to Bar Lottie. There's nothing in Frome that offers any spa type home. So what we're saying is we would have 14 bedrooms instead of 10. And we would like part of our offer to be that people can use the spa, which will make no difference to the look of the building except instead of being a down with heel building that was being not at all looked after. It'll become a very attractive building. I've got a picture of it on my phone as we would like it to be. We've sort of been asking all of our customers and everything, and everyone's very excited about it. As far as the parking is concerned, it's an addition. It gives us, we have no parking for Lottie's.
Yeah.
So if you make all the roads into resident only parking, what are we supposed to do with people visiting Frome? Many people do visit Frome. And they bring a lot of money into Frome. So what we're saying is, can we have permission to offer them a little more than we're offering now?
Yeah.
And also that there's potential for off-street parking, which we're in fact increasing the off-street parking, not taking away from it.
Okay, thanks.
You look doubtful.
Let's get questions from some councillors first. If you don't mind, can the councillors ask some questions? Is that okay? Yeah.
I'm just hoping you can perhaps explain a bit more where the calculation of 10 full-time equivalent employment posts comes in, because I think that was part of the offer, was that in creating this spa, you would also be creating additional employment in town.
Yeah, so in a spa, you'd have at least 3 people on all the time, probably on 2 different shifts or possibly at different times of the day. You'll have therapists there. So it'll basically be therapists, cleaners. We know exactly how many people, because we actually employ them in Lottie's, we know how many people we employ.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand how many additional people you're looking to take on.
10.
It is 10
Yeah, I don't
full-time.
know who booked full time, but there'll certainly be 10.
Does that include people who would look after the bedrooms, because you need extra staff to look after the bedrooms?
Yeah, exactly.
But if you do the cleaning.
I think it's an underestimation.
Okay, but it sounds like there may not be full-time people.
It depends what you mean by full time, or 30 hours a week. What is full time these days?
Well, a job that means nobody.
There'll be real jobs there for real people.
Yeah.
And I've already got people, applying for those jobs. But it'll also become a part of Lottie's, so.
Okay. Is it, I was just trying to understand, is it already part of Lottie's, or is it tenanted separately at the moment?
I live on the corner, opposite the pub.
Right.
Where Dr. Motson used to live.
Yeah.
So I'm one of the nearest neighbours. When I became aware it was up for sale, I thought, well, I don't really want to buy it, blah, blah, blah. But then Lottie said, what are we going to do for parking? Because they're making Weymouth Street into resident only. So that makes it very difficult for us. When people call and say, I'm coming from London for a couple of days, can I park? Yeah, you can park in the street. So we thought, well, why don't we buy it and then add it to our offer, so that someone coming can obviously stay. All the things about Frome, which are becoming more and more, people becoming more and more aware of and visiting, would give us a few more bedrooms. It may only be 3.
Yeah.
And it gives us some parking spaces. So we feel that we're contributing to parking, not taking away from parking. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions from anyone?
So I meant the contributing.
It does. Yeah. No, it does make sense. Yeah. I'm just sort of trying to bring all the questions together. So I've got Lisa first, and then Philip.
I don't know what to say. With the lack of disabled access, is that something that you're planning to put in? Or?
No, there's nothing, you can't do it in that building, but we do have disabled, Lottie's is one of the few buildings in Frome, restaurants or bars or whatever, that actually has disabled access and has disabled toilets.
Okay.
So we would, again, we think we're adding, not taking away.
Yeah.
I think I've done a lot to bring Babcock up.
Yeah.
In the time I've been here for 25 years now. They call me the King of Babcock. I try and hide and pretend that it's all Lottie, but it isn't. I'm a partner, but I also own the 2 buildings. So I've invested a lot of money into Frome. I've been coming here for 40 years. My wife's American, and when she came to London to be with me, she said, I can't live in London, I have to live in the country. And I said, well, I don't know anything about the country. I didn't say I don't know where that be to then. I will say that now.
Let's,
she said, where could we go? And I said, there's only one place that I know. I've got cousins here who've been here forever.
Thank you. Let me just bring Philip in because it's got some question. Philip.
Steve, I've got quite a few concerns about this. The first thing is that the first question is this going to be the spa facilities? Are they just for guests, or are they at various times or during the year, quiet periods for Lottie? Is it going to be open to the public? Because obviously that would have a knock-on effect in terms of extra people and cars and so on. So that's my first point. The second point is that invariably with this kind of business, the 10 jobs mentioned would be part-time unless there's an overall manager. The job mentioned as sort of cleaners and therapists and so on, and managers of the spa and chamber sort of staff, they tend to be invariably part-time. I noticed that it says treatment room. Basically what they're meaning is having massage and so on that's related to the spa that people can book from that point of view. And also, as it's a commercial property, or that part of it's commercial property, then I am concerned that there isn't a regard for disabled access or any kind of mitigation for that. So my main point really is it going to be open to the public as well as guests?
I really do think you should do something about your sound, because I'm a little bit deaf and I can hear very little of what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's his end now. Unfortunately,
my voice is sorry.
The main question he had was: is the spa going to be open to the public, or is it just for the guests of Lottie?
Well, I would throw it back and say, what would you prefer?
I'd like to come to your spot.
Well,
I haven't spoken.
I would just say I'd like an answer, please.
If we didn't open it to the public in Frome, we'd probably have the doors broken down. There is such an enthusiasm in Frome, particularly from younger people. I mean, quite younger, I'm 76.
So the answer is yes, it's open to.
So is the answer yes?
Yes.
It's not, it's to be decided, but I think it would be yes, it's probably the answer.
So could I just say, I think it needs to specify in the application whether or not it is open to the public or not, because that does have an impact on the amount of parking spaces that will be required. So if it's for people who are staying there only, then the amount of parking spaces would need to be enough for the amount of people that would be staying there. So perhaps 1.5 spaces or one space per unit of rental accommodation. If it's open to the public and you're having visitors, then you would need to provide a higher amount of parking spaces.
Well, we can't. So
but
shall we close the bed? Shall we not use the bedrooms?
It's being used by local Frome residents.
So
they don't. Most local Frome residents wouldn't require a parking.
But you can't guarantee that it will.
No, you can't quite guarantee it.
So what I'm just
we
trying.
can guarantee it because we can have it so that
Okay,
you
so
have to have a password to get your car in. We've thought of all these things.
so-
It's a catch-22.
Yeah.
If we don't have any bedrooms, would you prefer that?
So what I'm just trying to explain is we have to consider this application on the information that's provided as part of the application. So even if you say you'll change this and you'll change that, currently we have to look at what's in the application form. So I'm just trying to say that Somerset County Council, who are the authority who would provide a statutory consultation on the amount of parking spaces that are required, may well come back and say that there aren't sufficient amount of parking spaces. So whether we sit here and say, oh, well, that's fine, you know, if it's just people from Frome, then that'll deal with that. Actually, Somerset County Council could make a formal objection on that basis, and it doesn't matter whether we say it's fine or not. So I was just, yes, it may matter to you, but what I'm saying is we can't change.
No, I understand. I know a lot about
Council will
that,
change.
as you can imagine.
So-
quite a lot about planning in
Yeah.
Frome.
So that's why the question about whether or not it's open to the public or not.
Well,
and I
you can
think
look at
that's
it
what
both
said.
ways, as I just said. So it's not really relevant. Because we could make it less or more. We can say, well, we won't allow anyone from Frome to do so. Or we will only allow people from Frome to use it. Or there are so many ways we have to.
presently in the application?
I haven't got, I don't know, I haven't got an answer.
No, so I totally understand what you're saying, but if it will be a case that it will only be available for use of people in Frome, then that needs to be reflected in the documentation as part of the application.
No, the application will go in as it is, and then when we get answers, we would then at that point, so far, we've invested £700,000 into Frome. For that, we've also invested something like 2 million in losses. We are in the business of bringing Frome up. So what?
So the current use of the building is bedsits, is that correct?
It was the lowest, it was the worst building, it was the cheapest and worst kept building in Frome. I know that because I live opposite it. And the requirements to upgrade it put the people that actually owned it previously off. They weren't prepared to invest the money into the building. The building was built, do you know anything about the history of the building?
No.
Right.
Can I just finish my point?
Yeah.
I'm not, the history of the building is interesting, but
It's interesting because it was built as letting.
So are you saying that the bedsits that are currently there had to be upgraded to make them habitable?
Yeah.
And that was by the authorities?
Yeah, well, I guess.
So as it stands, they can't be used as residential.
Presuming they didn't comply with HMO regulations.
Yeah, it sort of didn't comply and it hadn't been kept up, so, commercially it wasn't worth the people that own the building.
Right.
Keeping it available. I, by the way, provide quite a few flats in Frome. When we're talking about providing.
I don't know if it's appropriate or not to say one of those flats is mine. I will say that they're very well maintained. If that's appropriate or not to say that that's what I have to say. It's very, they are very well looked after. Very well.
What we're dealing here is something that it will be very popular in Frome.
Yeah, no, I don't think we're doubting that at all, sir. Okay,
the parking situation in Frome is
yes, we know that. And that's not going to change, okay? And we can't change that, okay? What we're trying to get at here is that the way we see it, or the way I see it, I can't talk for my colleagues, the way I see it, is that there is a huge housing crisis in Frome, and to lose 6 potential one-bedroom properties in the current climate is really quite painful.
You've lost them.
Well,
they've gone. We can put 4 back.
I think, Stephen, as I understand it, even those that were there didn't have any kitchens of their own or anything. So it was effectively, it was an HMO rather than individual flats.
Yeah.
It was a big HMO, exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's, in a sense, that's history.
Sure.
What we're looking at now is what sounds like quite a well-considered business proposition. But I think the challenge is that the application as it stands probably would fail on 1 or 2 of the policy constraints that the planning authority would apply to it. And one of those will be related to parking, one particularly maybe related to the disabled access. So I understand if the building can't do it, then the building can't do it. I don't know where you go with them.
Absolutely.
What you could say in response to the parking is, if the spa facilities are open to the wider public, then that should. I don't know whether you can or whether Mendip can condition it, but condition it that it's only accessible to people who don't drive there. I don't know how they can enforce
yeah.
that, but
Well, we
No,
can, as
but
I said to you, we can do that because we can put a gate across it and only give access to people who are staying with us.
Sure, yeah.
Everybody else must arrive and walk in. So we can control that, which is very unusual, and would be happy to do that.
I mean, regarding the public versus private usage of it, I know with 14 properties, you've probably got lots of people who want to use it, but to make it commercially viable, I have to imagine that it be open to the public. So
I think so. I mean, we've tried to do the figures on that. You can do it by saying that our bedroom price will go up because we're offering a spa.
Yeah.
So if Lottie's has 100 people a week, if it does, I don't know. that would sort of pay for.
Yeah.
But Lottie's does well in its bedrooms. It's got the best bedrooms in Frome, I think.
Yeah.
So it's successful. If you can think of it as an addition to Lottie's,
Yeah.
you can think of it as offering parking rather than taking it away. And I think I can make a good argument for all of these cases, but you have to twist and turn slightly. You can say, okay, instead of having letting rooms, I mean, B&B rooms, we'll have letting rooms. Does that make a difference? I don't know. We would prefer to have B&B rooms, and we think that that's what's necessary. What do you need in Frome? And I was very involved in rehousing some of the people that lived in there before, because nobody was going to help them. The local authority, nobody. They were all being paid for by the local authority.
Okay, interesting.
The
Thanks.
local authority couldn't help them. We did. I actually own 3 large nursing homes in London that look after people with intensive, not old people, but intensive nursing care. So we know all about planning, and we're very,
I mean, I think, Steve, my gut
very aware
feeling
of
is that
everything really. So we've put everything in.
I think it'd be very hard for us, given the planning constraints, for us to positively support this application. But I'm quite happy that we would submit a no objection response to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm sort of agreeing with it. Well, hang on, let's hear from anyone. Anyone else got any comments?
Just a question on the
Yeah.
parking. You were saying that you need to open up the offer for Lottie's rooms above the bistro and the rooms above the bar.
Yeah.
But that would further overwhelm the number of parking spaces in the Weymouth Road property. So you have to limit the Weymouth Road parking purely to people using the Weymouth Road parking, wouldn't you?
No, because if you've only got 4 rooms, so you're unlikely to 50% occupancy is normal. So that means two cars.
So Lottie or her manager would have to sort of allocate parking as it was available.
Which
You couldn't just say to everybody, yes, we've got all this parking, go and park, and it's full up.
we can say we have 14 bedrooms and we have 10 parking spaces. That's what we can say. But normally, as I just said, you've got, if you're doing better more than 50%, you're doing very well. So instead of thinking of 10, think of 5. So you've got 5 cars.
Lisa, and then Philip.
Yeah.
And then I think
Given the clientele that you have at Barlotti, Easter Lottie, those are largely people that live locally and walk in. I should imagine that those would be the same people who would use the additional spa facilities within that new development. And it would be a particular demographic who are maybe used to walking into town, maybe used to accessing some of the kind of more lively evening.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right.
So thinking about your audience and the people who would frequent it, I don't see a terrible need for parking. Notwithstanding, you will have to jump through the hoops that Somerset have set for you. And
That's why I mentioned the nursing homes, because
Yeah.
we're used to them.
Okay, interesting. Mhm.
yes, and I can see how it was.
But you're absolutely right. People don't drive. If you're going to have, Lottie is, as we all know, I think, is quite popular in Frome. No one drives. So. Whatever part of Frome they come from, they either take a cab or they walk. And
Yeah.
people said to me when we did it, well, people won't walk up the hill. I said, how most of the people live up the hill. It's
Yeah.
walking down the
We
hill.
also have lots of spas that don't have any parking.
Yeah.
There's a high precedent.
It's a real
I just want to bring
Yeah.
Philip in, and then I think from what I'm hearing, we're close. Philip, you still got your hand up, or?
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Yeah. Just listening to all of that, just a couple of points. But it's relating to the public use of the spa. Having heard that most occupancy is around about 50%, which I already knew and sort of gathered, that means that there is a pressure, obviously, for the spa to be open to the public to make it financially viable. And I think that the way it would probably go is for it to become a club. And depending on pricing, that will attract people to come to Frome to use it and travel across Frome. I disagree with Lisa when she says that the demographic in the evening are the same demographic that will use the spa. And also, I think that is a different demographic that would use the spa. And invariably, being a club or however it's worked, people will drive. I don't think that it would be viable to have the number of people would walk to make it viable in that particular area. My gut reaction is as Andy was saying, that to object, to refuse without, not to refuse at this stage, although I am of a mind to object, but that depends on how it goes, Steve.
Sorry.
I didn't. What did you say?
He's agreeing with Andy, basically.
Agreeing with me and agreeing with
Yeah.
Andy.
Andy, did you want to say something as well?
No, I'm
Right.
All I got is I think I'm minded to object. Is that what you said?
I think he mitigated that further on.
All
So.
right. Okay, well, there we are. I mean, we, as I said, we've been in Frome for over 20 years. We're landlords in Frome.
Yeah.
So we're here, you can see us, you can talk to us.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming. It's been, you've actually,
we'll twist and turn.
Yeah, you've actually changed my mind on a couple of things which I had thought about just from what you were saying. So, Jane, you've written where you think we are.
I have. I'm kind of sensing that councillors don't want to object to it, but do still have some concerns about the parking. I know you've explained all of that. So I think you may potentially want to say that you have no objection, subject to Somerset County Council being satisfied that there are adequate parking spaces for guests and visitors to the spa, so that additional pressure is not put on street parking in the surrounding streets, and that disabled access should be provided. And it may choose to ignore
I think
that if they want to.
I think I would prefer if I could persuade you not to put that in.
Yeah.
But also I think that they'll be thinking they're trying to teach their grandmother to suck eggs. You know, that's what you're absolutely right. That's the first thing they'll look at. And we will have to, as I said, because of having nursing homes and having all the problems with parking, we will negotiate with them and do everything that we can to make it work for them.
Okay,
We'll have to.
Thank you. I'm not that concerned about disabled access on the basis it's an extension to Lottie's, and they have disabled access at Lottie's.
Okay, we wouldn't be able to access the spa though.
No, but if they want to come to Lottie's, at least they can stay at Lottie's and disabled access.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's up to you. I
But
mean,
would a planning officer recommend it actually go through that anyway? Wouldn't they do some sort of checklist to go through those things anyway?
they would, and it would have to comply with building regulations. And again, I may be incorrect here, but I would have thought that disabled access was a requirement because it's new.
We object into it because of what the building is and was. It was built for letting. Very, very quickly. It was built by the Lord Bass of the man at the time for his mistress. It was built as two houses. The house that's a house was where she lived, and the 10 letting rooms were for her to have an income. So it was built as letting rooms, which is why it's got no kitchens, no bathrooms, no nothing. It didn't have any. So it's got no history. It may be possible for us to put a disabled loo on the outside of the building, which is on a flat level, but you can't do anything about the building. There's no way to get up or around, or you can't put lifts in it. It's too small.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it makes no difference whether I put that bit in or not.
That's what I'm saying.
If building regs require it, then it's required.
regs will require
And
it,
there's absolutely
Yeah.
nothing you can do to change that.
So it's really redundant for us to call it out, isn't it?
I'm disappointed that no one's going to ask me what we're going to offer.
What is
Steve
that?
rooms.
Did we start that?
It's on the floor.
Oh, it's all on there, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen it.
Do I look like a certain person that goes to the spa?
I think
I
the
do.
other point is, you know, there is a very popular members club just down the road with lots of residents in Frome using Babington House.
Oh,
as the
right.
members
Just down the road, I think.
So, you know, there already is that
Yeah.
with an abundance of parking on a good day.
Okay,
So we
Right, so-
sorry, last thing, we would call it Babington for the people. Most of us can't
Like,
afford to go.
yeah, I think you'll find that.
right, so what James said with that disabled access, can we vote on that, please? Thank you.
Propose.
Proposing. So we've got no objection, you're going to stand out, okay, that's fine. So, thank you very much,
Thank you.
and thank you for your contribution to Frome. I'm sure everyone appreciates it. We all go to Lottie's, in fact, we're going to be there in the morning at 10 o'clock.
Thank you, my class.
Your bar, your.
Thank you for coming. It's always good to have people come for their applications because it gives us a chance and it gives you a chance to explain. And as I said earlier on, there's some things that I had made assumptions for, which you corrected, which changed my mind completely.
We
So,
also, just
Thank
as
you
an add-on, we also do work with Fair Frome. We are their biggest individual.
yeah, and thank you for that as well.
Well,
Maybe I
so we
should,
work.
maybe I should have declared that as a.
Yeah. It's a bit late now.
Right.
We've had everyone around the table sat.
If I come on a bit heavy,
Sorry?
Were you aware of that prior to the
It took
discussion?
me a while to make the connection.
Right.
Yeah.
if I come on a bit heavy, it's because I'm used to arguing on a bigger scale. With,
Yeah.
at the moment, I'm in contention with Somerset County Council, Lambeth. Lambeth is so short of staff that all they say to you is, we can't look at it for 3 months.
Oh dear.
That's how bad it is in London. So
Okay.
I do get a bit heavy. I must
As a
apologise.
procedural thing, would you like me to step back from that one?
No,
I voted in favour, but I'm happy to abstain if that makes it
I
squeaky clean.
don't, I mean, you weren't aware of it during the
Yeah.
It
discussion.
took a while for me to
Yeah.
cotton on.
We're all very intertwined.
We are.
We are.
Most of
Thank you very
Frome
much.
is, yeah.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you, thank you.
Council meeting is helpful and informative. Good luck with your.
What would,
That was no objection.
yeah,
No,
I went to the loo.
did you?
good job Jane was here.
Right, moving on, come on, let's get this crack on, get hold outside.
Thank
Oh, I've
you.
just called out again.
No,
No, I
I think
haven't.
we're still on.
Right, next one is 127. This one will be quick. It's the tree in Victoria Park
Oh, yeah.
next to the cafe. It's our tree. The root, so it's this tree right next to the cafe. The root is growing under the cafe and lifting the floor up.
So actually, I hadn't realised that this was so close to the cafe. As a director of cultivating communities who've now got the lease to run the cafe, I'll step back.
Right.
Okay.
Interest all over the place tonight.
Say, I'm totally confused as to what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah, they've had it
Yeah,
up
yeah.
until this summer and then it's changing. Yeah.
And a spa. Right, thank you. So what, I mean, yeah, it's got to be done, isn't it?
Got to be done. Ben from Boski Trees has said he thinks the tree's healthy enough and big enough that it'll survive having one root chopped.
Oh, okay.
Bear Wolf, when I haven't seen it, he said he's fine with it. It's essentially come down to removing the root and having both,
Yeah.
or picking the tree or the cafe. So, Rob is obviously keen to save both. I think the plan is putting a concrete root barrier, which will then go on to support the floor that's lifted underneath the cafe.
Who's paying for that? We are.
Yeah, I think we've got a grant.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
No,
I
no.
don't know.
Oh, okay, not sure.
I
it's
was
expensive, that's all.
accidentally in a conversation about this the other day. I got dragged into it. And from memory, I think we are paying for it. There was something about putting out to a tender, but we're going to use ranger time to do what we can do as rangers. So therefore, we're not having to pay out for everything. But the person who they are bringing in is local and has given a very good quote and is capable of doing it.
Okay, good. So what are we actually voting on?
It's in a conservation area.
Oh, okay,
Well, just to top that.
just a
one off,
formality, yeah.
we have money set aside for improvements to the cafe.
Yeah.
Which we took in when we did the toilets in Victoria Park as well. There's a little bit of money in that included to improve these facilities.
Right.
I assume the money's coming out of that budget.
Okay.
That's not the loan though, that's original budget.
James, the question is how are we paying for the?
No, it's nothing to do with planning. It was just it was a real, it was just an interest, yeah, because I know it's quite expensive to do that sort of.
Yeah.
The tree work.
So what they were
the runs
saying,
and, yeah.
which was interesting, was that what they were going to do is they were going to not just sort of cut down, but they were then going to put concrete in to stop the root growing
Yeah.
back
The root
again.
barrier, yeah.
So they were doing
Yeah.
it.
You see,
Really,
normally insurance company just says,
Yeah.
cut
Which
the
is what
tree
we
down
ask
and
for
that's
lots
it.
of these
Yeah.
applications when we
Yeah.
do them ourselves.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
I
so.
support us in doing this.
Any other- I mean, I think so. I mean, I guess we've got to vote on it, haven't we? I've proposed that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, great, thanks.
Thank you.
Right, next.
The last one. The last one is the variation of condition 3 to the John Snellgrove
Oh,
site.
this was the dance studio.
This is the dance, yeah.
So this is the site plan. It's just the end. Can you see my mouse? Oh, there we go.
Can you, sorry, Catherine, can you just give us some background as to what it was, what it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is this is a site, it's just behind Victoria Road. It was a garage and an MOT test centre. It's now been converted into housing and an office space, which you can see on the site plan here. It's 2 little rows of terraces facing each other over a car park and gardens. Then highlighted in red is the office space here. So it's a workspace downstairs with parking, then a larger workspace upstairs with a kitchenette and a couple of loos. They want the condition changed so that it be a dance studio instead. I think they've already been approached by someone.
That's what they said in the text. They've
So,
been approached by somebody who wanted to.
Who wants
use
to
the site.
use it as a dance studio?
I think what happened was, like, we saw this a long time ago,
Hmm.
Jane knows it. It was employment land, they only got permission to have residential there if some employment land was
Retained, yeah.
And the way they got around that was by saying we'll have an office element to it. And now they're saying that's for some reason. They want to put the dance studio in there rather than the office space. And so the question for us probably, and the one that Helen Kay raised in her minute, was that would this be an equivalent amount of employment to the thing that was original originally passed.
Yes, I think Helen was also concerned that there's already so many dance studios in Frome. Is this a suitable site?
But they've already got someone to go in.
I presume so, because they're looking at ordering the floor for it, which you wouldn't do unless you had someone interested.
Well, I think in the application, it
Yeah,
specifically
application
states that.
says, yeah.
So yeah, I think there was a concern, not from Helen, over the music from the dance studio being loud for the residences. Oh, that was from the Civic Society, sorry. Being loud for the residences here, but I'm not sure it's close enough. There's no windows on the roof side anyway, which would help deaden that. Yeah, I think that's.
Can I ask not fairly obvious question? You might have someone going into the dance studio, but is that just coming from an existing dance studio? So it's just a new, or is it a new?
Yeah, we don't know.
We
We're
don't
not sure on
know.
that
It's
one.
not, yeah, it's,
I can't see that a dance studio is going to any significant real jobs other than for maybe one or two people, whereas the offices that were conditioned and were specifically meant to be built and available before any of the houses were sold, provide proper employment opportunities.
How many offices? Beat you to
My understanding is that we have a real shortage, which is exactly what we're talking about. I think Maker's Yard as a space has a waiting list of 100 people looking for studios. And I know-
office space, sorry.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
office space. And there's loads of need in the area, and I agree with what you're saying with, maybe it just being a couple of people employed, whereas office space, you could fit quite a few in that employment space.
Sorry, I'm just going to. Do we know if they've tried to get people to go into the office?
I don't know. They've not said.
How many offices is it?
I think it's open plan, so I'd imagine it'd be 2 or 3.
So it looks like 3, you've got the ground floor one and then.
So these dashed lines are where the roof.
According to Helen, and I've no reason to believe that she's not correct, it was supposed to be a mixed-use development employing 12 people or about 12 people.
Well, you have a ground floor workspace and then a larger workspace.
Or you could divide the room up, which you would, if you wanted 3 little offices in that top space, you would get that, because you just divide it as the roofs are.
Jane?
Yeah, so when the original application was considered, obviously it was an employment site before. So what would have been looked at was how many people were employed in its original use as a garage, and then the proposed employment space would have looked to have employed an equivalent amount of people. If this had been used, this had been implemented and used as an office, and they then wanted to change it to a dance studio, they would probably be asked to provide evidence that there was, it had been advertised for use or sale as an office, and that there was no interest in it for a period of 10 to 11 months, I think it is. So the fact that it hasn't been used as an office, because obviously it's new, I think we do need to think about the amount of employment that will be available if it's used as a dance studio. So you might want to say that actually you would like to see some evidence that there is no interest in it as an office use, because of the potential loss of employment numbers. You could also say that if it is approved, then you would want to ensure that there's adequate soundproofing to the dance studio so that it doesn't impact on adjoining neighbouring properties.
I think the issue, sorry.
Fiona first.
But it's, but also, are they planning on turning the whole thing into a dance studio? Because also, surely you've got the issue that if they just put this fancy flooring downstairs, which is what I'm imagining they'll do.
It's upstairs. But you would do.
Oh, okay,
But
but
this is like, this underneath bit is empty where the parking is.
yeah.
It's just like one strip of, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
Workspace.
But it's, okay, so I was just going to say that if they only do it to half the building, you're basically making the other bit of space not usable as a workspace because it would be so noisy.
Yeah,
So-
so if anyone works in this downstairs office, they're going to have dancing.
Yeah, which means you're losing employment space.
Mark and then Philip.
I think the reason why they're applying for change of use is it's early stages. You have to put a different floor in for a dance studio, you have to put a sprung floor in, don't you? Rather than just a basic concrete 3-inch floor. So that's one of the issues. Yeah, the second issue I think is, where was I going with that? The thing about, I go to the meetings of the Chamber of Commerce now as a council observer. I think that Andy used to do, I now do that. They're always bemoaning the lack of small office space, and we can see the success of the Old Church School and Motorworks, other places like that. But there, you can point to a demand for those sort of places. And when Mayday said, can we have a show of hands about who would be interested in taking the employment space in Mayday, that was oversubscribed as well. So I think it would be difficult for someone to show that there wasn't a demand for that sort of employment space. And the other thing I just remembered, if it's the sort of dance school I'm thinking it might be, they will be working in the evenings and possibly weekends, possibly because of school children who attend. And so it would be not 24/7, but it would be a lot of impact on people's weekends.
That's what I'm saying about traffic and parking.
Yeah.
If you think about school, it will be.
Yeah.
I have quite a lot of experience with dance studios. And yes, it is primarily younger kids that will be there, so they're going to be not
Picking
going
up,
to be
dropping
walking
off.
there, they're going to be driven just like they go to school.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
they will- and Victoria Road is not.
That's right.
Sorry, Philip, then.
Thank you. I had reason to visit the Mark Bruce Dance School on a deputy mayoral visit, and noted a couple of things. I think in terms of employment, I think I would like to know how many people are working there at the moment and what type of dance school it is, because that will affect the employment numbers. It's something like a Mark Bruce type, what I would call professional dance group. You're probably looking at somewhere between 10 and 15 people, and they don't tend to operate at weekends and nights, and they bring in people from Bruce does anyway. They bring in people from all over Europe and all over the world to come and train. Very, very prestigious for free. I'm not speaking in favour, but I'm just stating facts. In terms of the flooring, then a sprung floor can actually be installed on top of the floor that's there. And if it's going to be what we might call a traditional dance school, then yes, I think that would probably have fewer people working there, but it would generate a lot of cars, particularly at set times. I think a gentleman there was saying that it's like school time and so on. There would be very little during the day, but a lot going on after school, going on into the evenings. I would suggest Saturdays as well. So the concern of mine is to the actual traffic and so on. But going back to my point, I would like to know about numbers in terms of employment, both existing and proposed.
Thanks for
Very quickly, I just wanted on record that those three terrace, those three roads of terracing don't have adequate parking for the amount of houses in the first place. And that it is difficult to drive through Victoria Avenue and Walbridge Avenue. We know.
I have a van, and
That's where my wing there.
struggle like anything to drive around that place.
Yeah.
But there's no way you get an ambulance or fire engine around there. So.
Right, my views.
All roads lead to parking.
Well, they do, unfortunately, will do for years, won't they? I must admit, I really have an issue when people start doing variations. It's never variation for the better, it's always a variation for the worse. So I hate it when that happens, I have to admit. I personally would like to see it retained as offices. We have a massive need for offices in the town. It's pretty clear. I don't see at this stage why we should change it. As Jane said, if it was existing, they would have to show at least a year or 18 months or so, wouldn't they, that they've tried to rent it out. So personally, I would stick with it.
Put there for a reason.
It was put there for a reason. We wanted it there for a reason.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can we stipulate places where that would be advertised? Because it'd be quite easy for a landlord to advertise it in ways that aren't very.
There is
Yeah.
guidance.
Yeah.
Mendip have a supplementary planning document that sets out how they need to proceed to demonstrate that it's been adequately advertised, not on a billboard.
This is what we get with pubs, isn't it?
Yeah.
They have to be falling down for years before they get.
At least 2 years or so, isn't it?
Yeah.
So object. Any just object or object to loss of employment?
I think you might want to say that you object on the basis that it hasn't been adequately demonstrated that there is no interest in this as an office space, and that it would likely lead to a decrease in the amount of people who would be employed on the site, and that it would cause an increase in traffic movements and demand for parking. And as I said, I mean, if you wanted to say if it is approved, you could talk about the adequate soundproofing. But I think
There's enough there.
Yeah.
So what she said?
Yeah. What she said.
Right, Mark, are you voting? Or you? Yeah, good.
Yeah, that was unanimous.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Catherine,
I think that's
is that it?
all of them.
Are you happy to?
Oh, hang on a minute. This
Was there something about the music?
Old Vallis.
No,
Music studio?
no objection, or I said no objection
There was
to
a bit
the
of
studio.
emailing on this about the music garage, but I'm happy with that now.
I don't know, there's something on the agenda
variation.
about Old Vallis shepherd huts. Topical, isn't it, Christmas?
Yeah, sorry, but who wants to talk about who wants to talk about the music studio?
Well, then you were asking, yeah, you asked Jane
You emailed me
outside the
again.
meeting about when did we get permission to become a music studio?
Oh, yeah, no, it
No,
was
the
just
first
my,
one, 1, 2, 3.
my dislike of people that do variations, that was all.
Yeah, exactly.
So the music studio was put up in 1998, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't think any of you voted for it.
We can't even blame Mark.
No, I thought we'd seen it in the last 3 or 4 months. That's
Yes,
why.
you have, because I think you've seen it in 2020 because someone, I think, must have bought the house and wanted proof that there was an existing structure, a legal structure.
Okay.
And now
I
that
remember,
person
yeah.
has said
Yeah.
they want to convert it.
In which case, I don't really have a problem.
Okay.
It's accommodation rather than hobbies. I mean,
Yeah.
boys and hobbies.
So this item number 2 on the agenda, which I said we would do at the end because of the ones that we're going to go through.
It's Vallis Road.
Yeah.
Where they have proposed to put in 2 shepherd's huts for holiday accommodation, which we had no issue with that part of it when it came through last year, a couple of months ago. However, they want to add in a new entrance for these shepherd's huts on Vallis Road just before the main entrance to Vallis House. So it's currently a gate leading into a field, and then there'll be the shepherd's huts. So they've Somerset Highways have come back and said they're fine with it. So it's come back to us to, do we want to change our opinion or keep the same opinion, which was that we're not objecting to the shepherd's hut, we're objecting to the changing of the access.
So where are we? I can't, so Vallis Road, I know, so where is Vallis House?
It's the last house on the left leaving through.
Do you want me to get Google Maps up?
If
So
you-
yeah,
Yeah. if
The
you go-
the
if you go
speed
towards
just
Rexford,
changes at that point.
oh, good, it
you've got
goes
the
up to
boulder rooms and
40.
things on the right.
Yeah,
It's the very
it's,
last house. It's the
I've
base-
applied
it's the
it,
base,
it's
sorry.
just it's just in April Ward.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like the last house.
Yeah.
yeah, it is. It's
So we
right
originally
on the
said that
fringe.
you had to go in through the main drive of Vallis House
Yeah,
and then turn left towards the shepherd's hut.
Yeah.
They wanted to use an old farm gate, which is up against that fence, which is on a break. It's on where it changes from 30 to 40 miles an hour.
and there's a
It's on a
brick wall,
gravel
isn't
hill
there?
just before Sharp Lane.
Yeah.
And I can't see how the access could be safe.
That
Yeah.
sounds.
Frankly, just
yeah.
because Somerset Highways don't want to do their job, I don't see why we
Absolutely.
shouldn't do
No,
ours.
I objected at the time.
Yeah,
still object.
Still object. It's crazy.
Yeah,
It is
that-
crazy.
The only
Yeah.
accident I've ever had was a car coming out of Curlash Lane as I was coming up into Frome and not looking both ways and
Right.
entirely. his
So
fault.
there you go.
I drive past there every day and even looking for the,
There
this
you
is
go.
the main entrance.
Well done.
Yeah.
That's where we
Yeah,
said they were meant to
that's
go
where
with
they-
through
yeah,
there,
that's where we
because
said that was fine.
established.
So
But it's
this
that
is-
bit there.
It's the
That's
gate.
it.
No,
Sorry.
So,
Just come this way, there it is.
That's
gate.
the
what
gate.
it's saying about going
Yeah.
through.
and also the last street lamp, I know, obviously, because I drive up here, the last street lamps here, you've got your dimmed beams on in winter, then it's suddenly dark. And
Yeah,
if someone's turning before you get your full beams on, you're not going to see them.
No.
I was looking for that gate this morning
Mm.
and I still couldn't see it.
no, it's really dangerous.
Well, and they'll also think people are flashing them out just because they've gone to high beam. It's just stupid.
Yeah, I really
It's a
don't.
perfectly valid
understand why.
entrance they can use.
Because they
So
could just
as
go in there and
that's
do
an
a
agenda
left
item,
turn.
you will need to vote on it.
Right.
We- Right, so we
Yeah.
vote, we maintain our objection.
yeah.
There you go. Thank you,
And
Jane.
you also need to vote on whether you're happy to agree the
Remainder.
responses on the items that weren't discussed on the agenda.
So we're happy to, no objections on the
Yeah.
items that weren't discussed. Thank you very much.
One day you're not going to read those and we're going to get them later.
It hasn't happened yet. Won't happen. Thank you very much. Date of next meeting is the 12th of January, isn't it? This has changed from the 5th because it's the 5th. Yeah. Thank you very much. See you on the 12th. Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for coming along.
Thank you. Bye, Philip.
Yeah.
Bye, Philip.
Bye, Philip. Get better soon.
See you later. I'm at 12.